what do you think about the prospect of the new Batman versus Superman film, and what do you think Ben Affleck will be like as Batman?
I have no idea how Ben is going to do Batman. I have a feeling that he's going to be somewhat introspective and troubled. And, he's a very good actor. And I would never dream of telling him, or really any other actor, unless I'm directing, I might suggest something, but how to do it. He'll be fine. Got to shave his beard.
Now that you said that, I would love to see a Batman film directed by Adam West. How did you just mention that?
When I first started in TV, I directed, and when I was in the Army, I started the Army's first Signal Corps TV stations, and I worked as a writer and director for a couple of years. I wouldn't mind directing good material in a movie, but otherwise it's just too damn much work.
So many of the recent interpretations of Batman have been very dark. You talked about, you think Ben Affleck's version is probably going to be pretty introspective and troubled. Do you want to see a lighter version of Batman on the screen happening soon? Maybe you could direct that one.
I would like to see humor. I would like to see a sardonic kind of wit, and maybe they're doing that as well. But I think that, I don't know, the way I might do it is to have more humor about myself and what's happening, because it's desperate and, as I said, troubled. And if you can't laugh a little at yourself or the Joker or whatever, well, I just feel the audience likes that moment of relief occasionally, an added dimension to the character. But, they'll do it their way.
There's a new show premiering this fall called Gotham. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's a prequel to the Batman series. Any interest in coming on for a role, maybe as a crime boss or a villain?
I'd love to play a villain. I've done villains many times. When I first started under contract at Warner's, I played villains and cowboys and all that stuff. But yeah, it's always interesting and fun to dig in and try to play a villain that is really like.
Any particular Batman villain that you'd like to sink your teeth into? I gave you the setup.
Well, I'd like to play an even more grotesque version of Joker or Mr. Freeze, and find Mr. Freeze occasionally in his own environment enjoying, for example, a cold sauna. I won't go on.
In the 60s series, there are some sort of public service announcements, like wear your seatbelt, things like that. Do any of those pop up in the Lego Batman game? Just as
yes, there are those moments.
Okay.
All the superheroes are becoming movies. Why do you think the genre is so popular now on movies and television? With The Flash, Batman, Superman, Superboy, so on.
Everything is kind of cyclical. What goes around comes around. And indeed, it is the day and night of the superhero. It will probably last quite a while, as long as it continues to bring big bucks at the box office. It's that simple. And people seem to like it. I think that more than ever, because this world has gone crazy. If you look around and hear the news, read things, it's gone crazy. So superheroes are a remarkable escape. You can dream with them. You can pretend with them. And if it's, for example, my Batman, he's a vulnerable guy, and he's human. So you can pretend that you're Batman too. we all have to, come out of whatever we're doing and occasionally dream and have fun with something, because it's a tough world out there.
There's a real resurgence for your version of Batman going on right now. With the Blu-ray release, with just a lot of attention being put on that version of Batman. Why do you think now is the moment?
Now is the moment.
Nicely done.
I don't know. Look, I've hung around for 40 years, and during those years I've always promoted and pushed Batman. When I was typecast early on, I decided after 4 or 5 years of hanging out on the beach and not doing anything, that I better love this character as I did when I was creating it, because people are happy with it. People love it. So why shouldn't I? I'm the luckiest guy in the world to have been able to create a character that's become classic in TV. And now the new game from Lego, Batman 3 Beyond Gotham, or Gotham Beyond, whatever you want to call it. I enjoy that because, am I talking too much?
Go on.
We're here to listen to you.
I enjoy that because it gives me a chance to play Batman in a little different way. A way I think is more conducive to game show stuff. Not game show, but game stuff. What I've done with the character in the game is update him a little bit, but make him even more zany and more forceful, so that it's more exciting, because people who play games want to be excited by the game. And I think we've really got a winner here with this one, Lego Batman 3. And by the way, it's being released the same date as the new Blu-ray remastered Batman series, November 11th. You guys are going to love this game. I'm going to learn how to play it.
I think one of your other all-time classic characters is, of course, Mayor West on Family Guy. What was your initial thought when you were brought in for that, and did it surprise you how that role in that show eventually blew up?
Well, I wasn't terribly surprised, because Seth MacFarlane, who's a great friend of mine and a wonderful talent, had written a pilot for me. And then I realized that, Seth and I had the same kind of comic sensibilities in an area. And so he called, and I said, yeah, I want to play the mayor. I want to play that idiotic mayor, that quirky mayor. And you could use my name, because I don't mind making fun of myself, as long as it's outrageous. And as long as the character tries to retain some kind of dignity, which is always funny. If somebody falls down and tries to recover.
What are your favorite lines from your character in Lego Batman 3? Like, when you get to play your character, what do you like to say, or what was your favorite bit?
In the game?
In the game.
I wrote down a couple here. If I can take a moment.
You did homework for us.
We appreciate it.
Looks like it's time for a senior superhero to go out and dispense some justice. Or, help! I'm Adam West. I'm in some kind of peril.
What's your favorite Batman villain? Personal favorite.
Favorite Batman villain, of course, would be Catwoman. Curious stirrings in my utility belt. That old line.
DC Comics has been releasing a series called Batman 66, and it's about your version of Batman. Have you seen those? And if you have, what's your reaction to it?
Yes, I have seen the new comic magazines, Batman 66.
Yes.
just made me feel older. It was wonderful because, I think for an actor who's really tried to do the best with whatever work I have, to bring something fresh, things like that are a tribute. And if people enjoy it, and if it makes them happy and brings them a few laughs, whatever, brings me a few laughs too. Money. No, it's just, you're paid for that stuff. But that's what I do. And if people enjoy it, now I can pay the mortgage.
You talked about the mayor character on Family Guy and how you said they could use your name. And in this game you're playing yourself, do you see a sort of an Adam West character that exists? Is that person very different from you when you're playing yourself?
Only in my most drunken moments. What I do is simply exaggerate the quirkier aspects of my personality, and that seems to work for that character. It's fun to be the mayor of Quahog, and especially when we celebrate Clam Day.
Mr. West, this franchise is huge, but back in the 60s, the franchise was in trouble, and it was really your show and the way your performance connected with people that really helped save and revive the Batman franchise. And if not for you and your show, we might not be here right now. Does that feel good to have that legacy on the Batman wall?
Yes, it does feel good. That some of my work along the way has gone noticed, rewarded. Any actor, I guess, wants to be loved or whatever, wants his work to be recognized. And so I'm feeling pretty good about that, yeah. You really work your butt off and something good happens occasionally.
Did you have any trouble voicing Batman just by your voice? You acted, physically acted him on the screen, but what's it like just using your voice to portray the character?
It wasn't difficult because when I assumed the character in whatever situation, that older character that I created, the classic Batman, they're saying, it comes right back. It's easy. You just slip right back into it. If the chemistry's right, if you're allowed to work in an environment that is not inhibited. My point being that when I walked on the set during the time we shot Batman, I always tried to create fun around me with everyone, because it was the only way that I figured that Batman could communicate that kind of zaniness and fun, for the kids and the adults. So I always try to do that. But you guys aren't having any fun. I'm a little ticked and I feel like a failure.
No. We're having a wonderful time.
I'm sure everyone here grew up with your show. I used to come home from school and watch it. What's it like bringing that Batman to a whole new generation of young fans?
Well, when I look at you and I see that, that you turned out okay, and that's rewarding too, because I get judges, I get janitors, I get plumbers, I get lawyers, doctors coming up to me all the time, and they say kind of what you did. Gee, I watched Batman and that changed my whole life. Because of you, I'm out fighting crime.
If your version of Batman was locked in a room with the other versions of Batman, what type of advice would you give them?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
I don't think, frankly, I would presume to give any advice, because they do their thing and I did mine. And after all, they're wonderful talents, and they have, in the films that they do, they have every production facility and aid that you could ever imagine. We didn't, but we managed to put up and enhance whatever we had at hand. But they have great talent. I couldn't tell them what to do. I know how I'd play it, but
What do you think would be, Batman always had those like utility belts with all the stuff in it. What would be the thing you would want to have at all times that you would just pull out of your utility belt and use?
well, I'd like to have a quarter for the meter. And maybe a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah.
And of course some bat shark repellent.
Yes. The best.
Those lines were wonderful. We had really good, funny writers. Lorenzo Semple Jr., the late Lorenzo, had won a number of awards as a screenwriter. And when he wrote the pilot script and I read it, I said, I have to do this. And I've been offered 5 more films. As a leading man thing. And it impressed me so much as a funny piece and a piece that might have longevity that I just said, of course, with that script, I'll do it. And Lorenzo said after, he said, that is the best script I've ever written.
As one of the first actors to portray Batman, what do you think makes the character so timeless? Why do you think it's endured from its very creation all the way up to today?
Why is it endured? Because you, sir, can be Batman. You hang out with me, you'll see. All you have to do is be crazy enough to fight crime 24/7, right? And no, Batman is vulnerable. He's a guy, and he just developed his crime-fighting abilities, his physique, his mental capacities to an extreme degree because he was motivated by seeing the death of his parents. That backstory really works for you. And what I did really in creating that character was just kind of a sense memory that what was it like when I was a kid and I read a Batman comic book, and then I said to my little brother, you be Robin, I'll be Batman, let's go out and play Batman, come on, out in the backyard. I got a cape, I got a towel here. You see, if you bring to the Batman thing, as long as it's not gothic, dark, and serious, but if you have the task of making it fun and a bright night, then you've got to remember the fun you had as a kid playing Batman, because you can use all that stuff. It communicates. It's contagious with the audience.
You've done animated work, done video game work, done screen work, done film work. Is there any place left for you to go?
I want to go home. Well, I had the privilege of doing a serious thing on the stage, the Amundsen and the Music Center in LA, and a few other things, and a couple of good movies and a lot of turkeys. But you got to make a living. But if there was anything that I would like to do, I think I've thought about a reinterpretation of Batman. Even as Batman's father, I thought, what could happen when things were so desperate that the younger Batman needed help? So on dark and stormy night, with lightning and the library building swinging open, Batman's Bat-father comes in and says, son, I know you're in trouble. I can help. It's interesting to see all of the different levels and character guises or whatever that Batman can take. That's the wonderful thing about that character.
If you could go back in time and have a conversation with yourself when you were filming the series, what advice would you give yourself, or would you like yourself as a young man? Well,
I was so busy just doing it. you work 14, 16 hours a day, and then there's, of course, the press. You have to pay attention there. And you try to have a little bit of a life. Every night I fell asleep with the scripts on my chest, and maybe a bottle of beer and a steak that I had cooked up or something, and knowing that in the morning that I had to bring something fresh in. I mean, I personally demanded. And I don't think I'd really change much.